Well, good morning there, Wealth Press traders, investors, subscribers, and viewers. It's time for another Market Weekly wrap-up, and I'm joined as usual by Mr. Roger Scott. Roger, welcome.
Thanks, James, and I appreciate you having me on here.
It's always a pleasure, Roger. Roger, so I've been seeing the whole Wealth Press universe booking incredible trades lately, especially in the shorter term option trades. Tell me about some of the better successes you guys have had this week.
Oh, James, I don't know where to begin. On Monday, when the market exploded, or Monday or Tuesday, when the market just exploded higher, we booked several triple-digit gains in, I think, 3 different programs. Literally closed out these trades 12 days early. It's been really, really good. I mean, Facebook, some tech stocks, some medical stocks. It has been just really, really, really strong. The trends that we've seen and the profits that we've seen with Wealth Press has been just nothing short of astonishing in the last several weeks. For example, remember I told you that that post-election, the #1 sector is industrial basic materials. Well, we had URI, that stock URI went up 250%. Let me give you some of these. Let me read some of these to you. Literally, these are trades. We were supposed to hold these for 2 weeks. We booked these in a few days. So URI 250%, XLB, that's the basic material ETF, 177%. Industrial XLI, 120% gain. Just obliterating these gains. Qualcomm,
Wow.
Qualcomm, we had 50% gain. And again, these are profits. These are just instant profits, like 2 days. So on and so on and so on. I mean, the numbers were just off. And again, these trades were supposed to be held for a few weeks. They were literally held for 2 days. So we have been seeing very, 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 very strong performance on these trades. I actually had a sheet here. Here we go. Look at this. MXIM, 131.70% gain. Facebook, 145% gain. TWLO, 64% gain. PPG, 49% gain. BBY, 40% gain. These are all just over the last few days. BB, 32% gain. Disney, 55% gain. All within the last few weeks, James. It's been like that.
So are you guys buying the stock, or are you trading the options?
We've been trading the stock and the options. The gains I've given you have been from the option, obviously.
Oh,
but all directional, all limited risk. And again, some of these are not. Some of these were intended to be 2-week trades. We literally hit our profit targets on the 2nd day. I mean, it's been raining. It's been raining green here, James. We've been very, very and remember something. I've been talking about small caps leading after the election.
Yeah.
For how long now? For guess
months.
Months. I've been talking about industrial and basic materials stocks for months.
Yeah.
Not like this isn't like something I said once in quick passing. And every one of my predictions has worked out. Every one of them. So now, believe it or not, and here's the thing. I'm not one of those guys who always thinks I know everything, and that's not the case. I have this picture of how things are every day. I guess my mind assimilates information, and it's like a movie, and the movie continues. And it just continues playing out in a certain way, and it's always been that way. That's just how my mind and the market kind of work together. And I'm going to tell you something funny. This week, I think Monday or Tuesday afternoon, it's almost like the movie came to an end. And no joke. And these movies, they can last 3-6 months sometimes. The movie came to an end, and I was kind of almost almost, I lost touch with the market for a couple of days. I honestly had I needed to kind of completely move away and regroup and kind of start all over again to get a footing. I lost my footing, so to speak. And it doesn't happen often, but it'll happen every 3 to 6 months for 24 to 48 hours. And then things will start coming back, and I start kind of rebuilding it again. But it's the weirdest thing ever. It's almost like somebody spun me around the room and closed the lights on me, turned off the lights. And then then it starts coming back. And that happened during this week. And that usually tells me that a major trend or a flow came to an end. And it did. It was the election. We kind of closed the books and started a new book. But what threw me off was all this wrangling that's going on with Trump and Biden right now. I guess my mind and the market were not really pricing that into the equation. So
right. So how is that panning out down there?
Well, let me be frank with you. In terms of the stock market, and again, folks at home, I'm not trying to get political here. Everything I do, everything I tell you is only for the benefit of you guys making money and for figuring out how the stock market's going to react. I put my personal opinions on the side. So please don't try to, because I know America's very torn right now till I guess Biden is certified. So I'll tell you, it's a very interesting question you've asked. If you turn on, it's like we live in a surreal universe down here right now, James. I've never seen such a huge division in terms of partisan. You turn on left wing and right wing, it's a different world out there right now. I thought it was bad before the election. It's even worse now. You've got people saying Trump is winning the election, and then you've got people saying that Biden's about to be sworn in. I mean, it's a surreal world right now. But not for the stock market. Not for the stock market. The stock market has been predicting a Biden win ever since the first debate. It gave a very clear signal. We've talked about it here. I've said it at least a dozen times, or thereabouts. Chinese stocks were leading. Solar stocks were leading. Everything was favoring Biden. The small caps were outperforming. And this little conundrum that we're having right now, the stock market has not budged on it. Nothing has changed. So the stock market is still singing the same song and dance. Politicians are not, but the stock market, the stock market is continuing with the Biden win.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's and China's kind of congratulated officially Joe Biden now, even though it was belatedly. So do you get the sense that the footing of the Trump sort of effort is eroding in terms of credibility and ability to continue that narrative? Because I mean, it seems like the rats are leaving the ship, so to speak. He's getting abandoned by his own party increasingly. And so is that what's driving the stock market exuberance, is the fact that, well, these challenges are not really a threat to the stability of the market because their credibility is eroding quickly?
Again, I think that's a part of it, but a very, very small part of it. I think that is, as I said, see, the market never swayed away from the Biden win. So we haven't really seen any. What I'm trying to say is this, and I think this is very interesting in terms of how the market. I've been kind of watching the market every day since the election, and the market set a certain tone after the first debate, and it never swayed from that tone. So the market has completely has not been really paying much attention to Trump from the first day that he started this whole fraud thing to now. And again, folks at home, please don't take this personally. Don't send me hate letters and saying that I'm turning into a liberal. That's not the case. I'm only talking about the stock market. The stock market on day one, on November 3rd, on November 4th, on November 5th, November 6th, it never turned away from that bias. You know, what I'm trying to say is Trump was never able to sway the stock market that he ever had a chance after the election or since the
Right.
first debate. And again, I'm only talking about how the stock market has been reflecting everything. I'm not talking about anything else, which is very interesting because you would think if Trump's argument had some legs to stand on, it would impact the stock market negatively. We really haven't seen it. We really haven't seen it at all. The volatility has not been spiking. We haven't seen any put to call ratios really getting off track. There hasn't been anything substantial.
Sure. So then the market being driven by a lack of concern for any political fallout, and obviously fueled by the multiplier effect of all of this stimulus from March now having been replicated into a multiple of that through the expansion in the stock market. I mean, it seems like the stock market is on a runway from which there is no end. It only seems to go faster and faster and higher and higher. And so is that the sort of the stance we should be looking at going into 2021? Is that, just get ready for the biggest bull market you've ever seen?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a very, very solid bull market. But again, I'm going to repeat this again, and I've said this since day one. I don't think the political agenda is as instrumental as it usually is, because you have, just imagine the Fed and the central banks all doing this and just every time, just imagine that, folks. That's for the next 4 to 5 years. When they did this in 2008 to 2012, the stock market doubled in value. So how much of the, and by the way, Obama, we had a Democratic president during that time too. So let's not forget that too. And again, I don't want to get political. I don't, look, the stock market, there's a lot more to the stock market than who the president is. There's a lot more to the Constitution than who the president is. We have the House, we have the Senate. The president is just one part of it. And typically the president can do quite a bit, as we have seen. But when you have this COVID-19 climate, and you have this, when you have the Fed chairman saying the world's economy may never be the same again, there's a change taking place. There's a fundamental change taking place. One of the reasons why Warren Buffett has been useless in his analysis is because his way of analyzing the market hasn't worked in years. Unfortunately, maybe it will one day. His analysis works after a big crash. But when you have Fed and central banks doing this nonstop, it's kind of hard to get value out of this market. And here's what I'm seeing, James. And this is let's talk about what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing, and this is one of the reasons why I'm expecting a big rally in the S&P and the markets. I'm seeing the market becoming a lot more broader, because we're having, and I'm also seeing something else for the first time this week happening I'm seeing people beginning in the beginning stage of asking the right questions. In other words, people are starting to, you remember a few months back, everything's going to come back to normal when vaccine comes out. That was the macro mentality. I'm not seeing that at all anymore. Now it's, oh, is it going to come out? Oh, what's going to happen when it comes out? We're only in the beginning. And when people start asking the right question, that's when a certain level of assimilation begins. So I think the market is going to start assimilating certain aspects of us being at one with COVID, which it has not done yet, but it's going to do it in a very, very cautious and a very, one step forward, 2 steps back, possibly way. Because again, we don't know with this vaccine. See, the more vaccines come out and the more things move into the development stage, the more questions people are going to start asking. And that's when we're going to start finally seeing this for what it really is. Until that happens, we're kind of just all going to be kind of going around. But here's the good news. I look at relative strength, as you know, on the stock market. And I am even I am surprised at the broadness of what I'm seeing, James. We haven't seen this level of broadness since January. I'm seeing I'm seeing consumer stocks. I'm seeing chip stocks. I'm seeing travel stocks like Expedia. I'm seeing a very, very good blend of stocks rising right now for the first time. Cruise ship stocks, airlines. I'm seeing maybe not all the stocks in every sector, but I'm seeing a very broad based market. And the broader the market, the more diversification, the less risk. I'm not seeing a sector centric market right now. So one, either we're going to have vaccines that are very, very effective, or the alternative, which I believe the stay-at-home climate, which I think we're going to have, is going to be a lot broader. In other words, people are going to be not in a okay, exercise, guns, outdoor. It's going to be the stores that have survived are going to be a lot more broader in terms of what people. In other words, people are being accustomed to living in this world more. That's what the market is telling me right now, which is positive. But again, we're not going from step 1 to step 10 in one day. We're not gonna. The world's not gonna. We're not gonna snap our fingers and see hundreds of thousands of people at rock concerts at least for 2 years. Metallica just came out yesterday and said no stadium tours, minimum of 1 year. Minimum of 1 year. That means next summer no Rolling Stones coming to town. No, that's huge. That means sporting events. So again, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or maybe 1 step forward, 1 step back. But we're starting to kind of feel the reality of this COVID longer term, and I think that's positive, and that's going to help the stock market overcome some of these hurdles.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading in the Wall Street Journal that 1 in 5 COVID patients are developing some form of mental illness before the end of their disease. And I thought, well, that's very curious. But then again, it shouldn't be surprising considering, the demonstrated diversity and agility of the virus to adapt and to infect different systems in the body and cause inflammation. So I guess the brain is not exempt from that. That being said, the 90% success rate of the virus, or of the vaccine rather, by Pfizer in its early stages suggests to me that in 2021, we could be looking at this thing in the rearview mirror by Q3 if they can ramp production and its efficacy and safety remain solid.
I don't know about that. I don't know. No. I think it's going to be very, very bumpy. I think you're going to have a lot of people who don't want to take it. I think you're going to have a lot of people who won't be able to take it. I think you're going to have a lot of people who will take it in a wrong way, not as prescribed. I think this is just the beginning stage. Okay. I think that's what it is. And again, we don't know the long-term impact of anything. I read the same article that you did. I actually believe, maybe it was a different article, but I read that, I think it was New York Times where I read it. And from what I read, and I kind of just glanced at it and I thought it was very interesting, but I thought it was people after the COVID, they get the mental issues. But the point here is, you see how we don't know. How do we know the long-term impact of somebody with COVID or who had COVID? We don't. We have no idea. So I think that, and also I'll tell you another thing. Based on the number of drugs being released, I mean, it looks like the world is taking this very seriously. But the point is that I think there's a lot of unforeseeability still on the table. I don't think this is going to be third quarter. This could be in our rear view mirror. I'd love for that to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Sure.
I think the impact, especially in third world countries, is going to be huge. I think the impact on the housing market is just insane. I think the ripples from this, maybe the actual death rate, James, will be in a rear view mirror. And in terms of the level of fear that the world is in, will be in the rearview mirror. But the ramifications and the ripples from this will be felt for the next 3 to 5 years, I believe, and
Sure.
and it's going to have a big impact on technology.
You bet. Okay, so then let's talk about the likelihood of more stimulus coming down the pike sometime before. Will it happen before January 20th? If it doesn't seem like Trump has very much incentive to create stimulus. In fact, it sort of aligns rather nicely with his sort of vindictive veneer that he's going to specifically stall Congress and stall everything now in retaliation for his defeat, which leaves us till Biden comes in January 20th before any stimulus gets done. But is he going to be so encumbered by a Republican-weighted Senate that he's not going to be able to do much without a lot of horse trading?
I believe it's the latter of what you just said. I don't think that Trump right now, I don't think his focus is the stimulus. I think his focus is finding any fraud. I think he's looking for the smoking gun, and he's having fraud is very difficult to prove, as I mentioned yesterday. Also, basically, he is going down a rabbit hole that every day that goes by, his odds decrease and decrease, and they weren't very strong to begin with. And as I said before, the market is completely ignoring his prospect of regaining the presidency. And again, I'm only talking about the stock market.
Sure.
Again, I need because we've been getting a lot of emails the last few days. People have a lot of opinions. So I don't want to get into that. I'm just letting you know what the stock market is thinking. But to answer your question, I'm kind of glad that I'm actually really glad that the Senate is going to be a Republican, because I think it's good to have checks and balances. And I think they're going to be very cautious with Biden in terms of giving him what he wants. I don't think he's going to be happy, but I am looking for something from the Fed. Probably, if I had to guess, James, sometimes before March of next year.
Huh.
I don't think it's going to come in January. I think it's going to take a few months, because I think Biden is going to put his focus on building this COVID team. I think that's his main priority. And I also think he's going to try to do a national, kind of a national stay-at-home kind of a thing for a month or two, which is going to be devastating. So I think he has other things in mind.
Right.
Whether they're going to happen or not, we don't know.
Sure.
But this is
okay.
not.
Well, that's a great update, Roger. Let's leave it there for now. We'll come back to you next week at the round table. Thanks very much for joining me as usual.
Thank you for having me, James, and you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks again. Folks, be careful out there. This is not a time to be a hero.
Thanks, Roger. Bye for now.